At the beginning of the movie, a vehicle transporting government-printed currency was being escorted by a few police officers. They stopped the vehicle at the side of the road to have tea. Meanwhile, a group of robbers attacked the vehicle. One of the officers who had gone to get tea returned with his cup and saw the robbers hijacking the vehicle. He tried to fire at them but was outpaced as the robbers shot back first. In the attack, 4 police officers lost their lives. The robbers fled with the vehicle carrying the money. However, the police received information and began chasing them. The robbers eventually reached an old, abandoned warehouse and exited the vehicle. The gang was led by Ray Merriman, accompanied by their skilled driver, Danny, Bosco, and 2 other members. It was revealed that the killing of the police officers was unintentional. Bosco had accidentally fired his gun, provoking the officers to shoot back, which escalated the situation. Ray warned his team to be more cautious in the future, ensuring such incidents would not happen again. The next morning, local police arrived at the scene to investigate the hijacking. They examined the vehicle that had been stolen the previous day. This vehicle was not only used for transporting money, but also for carrying old or damaged notes to the bank, where they were destroyed and replaced with new ones. The hijacking of such a crucial vehicle shocked the local police. While they were investigating, a special task force arrived, led by Brian, a bold and unconventional officer. Brian was known for his rebellious nature and lack of a formal uniform. His behavior reflected the authority and confidence of a shadow police officer. He showed little respect for senior officers and casually smoked in their presence, displaying his fearless personality. Brian and his team began their own practical investigation. They focused on how the hijackers managed to take the vehicle, only to find that it contained no money at all. They questioned whether this was a mistake or part of a bigger plan. The team gathered a list of suspects known for similar activities in the area. Their inquiries led to a person who had been jailed for a similar crime 8 months earlier and had been released only a few months ago. Brian investigated whether this individual had been involved in any recent robberies. The police also discussed a previous case where $3 million were stolen from a small bank. This became a key point of concern in their investigation, suggesting a possible link between the 2 incidents. After the previous incident, this was the second major event in the area. Though the stolen vehicle was taken, it was revealed that there was no money inside. This raised questions about the gang's actual plan. The police suspected someone and identified him as Ray. They believed they were heading in the right direction. However, Brian began doubting how the gang managed to escape so smoothly with the vehicle, suggesting that a skilled driver might have been involved. Looking into past records, they found a young man named Danny, who had been jailed for 6 months for reckless driving. Thinking he might be connected, they decided to meet him at the bar where he worked. Danny worked as a bartender, serving drinks and chatting friendly with the customers. While Danny was working, the bar owner reminded everyone to wrap up as it was time to close. Around the same time, Brian entered the bar. His rough appearance made him stand out, but no one dared to question him. Before the bar closed, Brian grabbed a small drink. He and Danny struck up a casual, friendly conversation. Danny then asked Brian to leave as the shop was closing. Brian agreed and walked out without any fuss. After finishing his shift, Danny got into his car. However, just as he got in, someone grabbed him from behind. That was the last thing he remembered before losing consciousness. After some time, Danny woke up and found himself in a hotel room. When he stepped into the hall, he saw Brian and 4 or 5 other cops partying with some women who seemed to be sex workers. Brian approached Danny and asked if he had regained consciousness. He then brought up an old incident from 6 months ago when Danny was jailed for speeding. Brian asked directly if Danny was the one driving during the hijack of the van. Danny, trying to keep calm, denied any involvement and said they could take the matter to court if needed. But Brian and his team weren't the type to let things slide. They grabbed Danny by the neck. Terrified, Danny started confessing everything. He admitted that he had driven the car during a bank robbery where $3 million were stolen. However, he insisted that he was just the driver and had nothing to do with planning or harming anyone. Brian then questioned why they had stolen an empty van with no money in it. Danny, still frightened, claimed he knew nothing about that. He explained that his financial struggles had pushed him to work with the gang, but he was never part of their plans. When asked about the mastermind behind their team, Danny hesitated for a moment. Brian directly mentioned the name Ray, and though Danny looked shocked, he didn't deny it. Danny finally admitted that Ray was the mastermind behind everything. He revealed everything he knew in detail. A few months ago, Ray had been released from jail. Even at the time of his release, he had a clear plan in mind. To execute the robbery, Ray recruited several people. Danny shared that he was selected only after proving his driving skills in a test. Once the team was ready, they targeted a small bank and managed to steal $3 million. When the time came to divide the stolen money, Ray suggested an alternative plan. Instead of splitting the $3 million, he proposed using it for a bigger operation. Danny, who was unaware of the full details, begged Brian and his team not to harm him and asked to be let go. Brian agreed to release Danny, but warned him to stay available for any future questioning. He also instructed Danny to share any secret information immediately if contacted. Relieved yet scared, Danny quickly left the scene. Though the police had interrogated him, Danny had not revealed any of Ray's plans. Meanwhile, Ray, the mastermind, and his crew had bigger plans. Ray had stolen the $3 million, but instead of spending it, he was plotting a larger scheme. Danny told Brian that he didn't know Ray's exact plan. Ray later explained the strategy to his team. He said they couldn't use the stolen money directly because the serial numbers could be traced easily by the police. Instead, Ray had a clever idea. The Reserve Bank destroyed old currency notes daily at another branch. Before the notes were destroyed, the bank erased their serial numbers, making them untraceable. Ray proposed targeting the notes being transported for destruction. If they could steal them, there would be no way to trace the money back to them. Ray emphasized the need for secrecy to ensure their safety and presented a meticulous, foolproof plan. With $3 million worth of currency destroyed every day, they could strike once a year and secure a huge amount without raising suspicion. Meanwhile, Danny, who worked at a bar, often made food deliveries to the bank. He kept an eye on things, observing two bank employees who frequently ordered food. One day, he hid a packet in the bank's restroom for reasons nobody understood at the time. Later, Ray and his gang were at a hotel when they ran into Brian and his team. Brian, drunk, approached Danny in a familiar and irritating way, reminding him of their past gym sessions. Ray watched Danny closely, growing suspicious. Eventually, Brian's team took him away, apologizing for his behavior and blaming it on alcohol. This incident made Ray even more suspicious. He confronted Danny, threatening him with a gun and demanding the truth. Danny, realizing the danger, confessed that Brian and his team were actually police officers. He admitted they had forced him to reveal some details, but he hadn't disclosed the full plan or any important secrets about the heist. He had only admitted to the theft of the $3 million. Ray, feeling the tension rise, realized the police seemed too confident, like they were playing a game with them. It was time to retaliate. Ray instructed Danny to set a trap by sharing fake details about their next heist. Danny was told to tell Brian that the heist would happen on Friday, but he wasn't sure about the location. Ray wanted to see how they'd react. Following Ray's orders, Danny met Brian and his team at a shop and shared the fake information. Brian, however, questioned Danny about his strange behavior earlier at the bar, which had made his team suspicious. Brian dismissed it as a joke and told Danny to focus on the mission. Danny, sticking to the plan, warned Brian that Ray's gang would be armed and dangerous, advising him to prepare for the worst and wear bulletproof vests. After passing on the message, Danny left. Meanwhile, Brian revealed his true nature. He wasn't the perfect cop he appeared to be. He had a shady side. It turned out Brian had manipulated Ray's wife, who worked at a hotel, into spending the night with him. The next morning, as Ray returned home, he saw Brian casually walking out of his house, completely unbothered. Ray, humiliated and furious, stood speechless while Brian went to his car, called his team, and announced that Ray's target was the bank. He urged his team to be on high alert and start planning. Later, it was revealed that Brian's time with Ray's wife was part of his scheme to gather information about the gang's plans. However, Ray's wife had already spilled the name of the bank, proving it was all part of Ray's strategy to mislead Brian and his team. Friday arrived, and it was the day Ray and his crew planned to rob the bank. However, things unfolded differently than expected. Ray's team, wearing masks, stormed into the bank, demanding $1 million and a helicopter for their escape, threatening to kill anyone if their demands weren't met. Ray led the group, conveying the threat to the frightened staff. They then moved to the vault, looting money and issuing further warnings. They said that if the $1 million wasn't delivered within an hour, they would kill one hostage every hour. To prove their seriousness, they dragged a girl from the group, took her to a bathroom, and shot her. This horrifying act paralyzed everyone in the bank. The bank manager, desperate to prevent further casualties, requested the money and helicopter, emphasizing the dire consequences. Outside, the local police arrived. However, Brian and his team, who had been tracking the gang for months, insisted the local police step back and let them handle the situation. Tensions grew within the gang, leading to the death of one member. Brian, sensing something unusual, began piecing things together. He discovered a drainage system running beneath the bank, realizing that the heist wasn't just about the money, and suspected a deeper motive. Without wasting time, Brian entered the bank, determined to confront Ray's deception and stop the crew's intricate plans. The gang had threatened to kill anyone who interfered. Despite this, Brian managed to enter the building without incident, even as local police and the FBI were in a panic outside. Upon hearing about the girl shot in the bathroom, Brian went to investigate. To his relief, he found the girl unharmed. She had only been restrained to keep her silent. Earlier, a loud blast had been heard. Upon investigating, Brian discovered the explosion had occurred above the drainage tunnel beneath the bank. It was part of Ray's plan to create an escape route. It became clear that the robbery was a distraction, a carefully orchestrated event to divert the police's attention. Brian and his team realized the gang had planned everything with precision. The story took another twist when an empty van, which the gang had used earlier, was found missing. This raised questions about Ray's true intentions. It was revealed that Ray and his gang's real objective was to destroy $3 million in stolen cash. Ray and Gus reached the designated spot, unloaded the money, and deleted its serial numbers from the database before beginning the destruction process. Meanwhile, Ray was overheard talking to an unidentified boss via a hidden mic. The boss was preparing to cut a power line at another location, hinting at an even bigger plan. In the end, Ray's gang successfully deceived the police, the FBI, and Brian's team. Their whereabouts and next move were unknown, just leaving everyone in suspense. The hall where the notes were to be destroyed was now empty. Mike quietly called someone, referring to Danny, who was inside the area where the $300 million were stored. Before stepping out, Danny activated a device he was carrying, disabling the CCTV cameras, preventing anyone from viewing the footage. Outside, some unrelated people were making phone calls. As Dennis had arranged, a special line was set up to reach him directly. Two women working at the bank, who frequently called Danny for food deliveries, made a call that was redirected to Dennis instead of the hotel. Dennis assured them the delivery would happen soon. Meanwhile, in the room where the notes were meant to be destroyed, Danny started stacking the notes, whose serial numbers had already been deleted from the system. These notes were supposed to be shredded, but Danny had a different plan. Instead of destroying them, he discreetly placed them into a special bag, pretending they were being trashed. With the serial numbers deleted, the money could be taken without leaving a trace. It was a carefully executed trick. At the same time, the generator was turned on, and the staff re-entered the building. During that gap, Danny climbed through the air conditioning vent and found another way out. He also turned the machine back on, and the CCTV cameras resumed working. The technicians assumed the CCTV had stopped due to a power outage, and they were completely deceived. When the staff returned, Brian had brought in the $300 million they had collected, and the notes were being destroyed. However, Danny had already disposed of the notes with deleted serial numbers into the trash without anyone noticing. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Ray and Gus only needed to escape with the money hidden in the trash, ready to be collected later. It seemed like a simple heist. As the destroyed notes were being loaded into a truck for disposal, Bosco noticed it and threatened the driver with a gun. The driver fled in fear, and Bosco took control of the van, heading to their agreed hideout. Meanwhile, Danny had smoothly left the bank, but Brian's team spotted him while driving around. They quickly caught him, and Dennis got the information via a phone call. He informed Ray about it, but didn't seem too worried. Dennis simply asked where to meet, confident they could handle the rest. But Ray abruptly disconnected the call, as if avoiding him. The plot was now exposed. Sharing $300 million among 5 people wouldn't be as profitable, but splitting it among just 3 was much better. Poor Danny was now in police custody. Only Ray, Gus, and Bosco were left, and they were in a rush to collect the money and make their escape. Meanwhile, Brian was hitting Danny hard, injuring his eye. Danny finally revealed their entire plan, including how the serial numbers of the notes were deleted and where the money was currently kept. He also shared the location they had gone to retrieve it. Brian and his team immediately left for that location, but Ray, Gus, and Bosco were stuck in the same traffic block. When Ray, Gus, and Bosco saw the police, they quickly put on their bulletproof jackets, anticipating a shootout. The firing started from both sides. Brian ordered his two men to move along the side, but Gus and Bosco shot at them, killing both. With that, Ray was the only one left. Brian aggressively chased after Ray. Though Ray tried firing back, Brian quickly dodged and retaliated. As Ray attempted to jump from a high place to escape, Brian shot him in the side of his chest. Ray started bleeding heavily and collapsed to the ground. Out of bullets, Brian took out a small pistol and slowly approached Ray. In a desperate move, Ray pointed his empty gun at Brian. Afraid, Brian shot Ray in defense, and Ray succumbed to his injuries. With Ray, Gus, and Bosco all dead, it was over. When Brian and his team checked the car for the stolen $300 million, they only found shredded pieces of paper. They realized their entire mission had gone wrong. Brian asked his team to check on Danny and approached his car. Upon inspecting it, they realized the car had been locked and secured. Danny, however, managed to escape through the unlocked door. This triggered a series of realizations for Brian, leading him to the bar. The bar, located next to a reserve bank, was frequented by bank employees, and Danny had even taken a group photo there with familiar faces like Gus and Bosco. Brian discovered that everything was part of Danny's master plan. These individuals weren't criminals. They were old acquaintances from a sports team. Danny had identified an opportunity for a major heist and devised a detailed plan to execute it. His escape was cleverly orchestrated using a simple key he always carried. While Ray, Gus, and Bosco were leaving with the cash, Danny's friend, the driver, helped him unload the goods from the van. However, they soon realized the van only contained paper scraps. It was revealed that Danny and his friend had shipped the real money to London, hidden in the spare wheels of the van. They had become millionaires. In London, Danny posed as a wealthy man but continued working at a bar as a driver and part-time waiter. His real motive was tied to the large exchange office next door, which specialized in diamonds. Danny had his eyes set on pulling off an even bigger heist than the one before, and that's where the story ends.